Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? Does mouth taping improve facial structure?
Of course, I think no.
These TikToks are claiming that it's working really fast, for example, already visible after 8 days.
And then like, and then there's like a month, and he's like jacked and.
Yeah, exactly. This one is in very fast turnaround. She's kind of looking up more, but there's tons of claims on TikTok that it's working super fast. So even though we only tested it, 30 days, of which
Yeah.
about 2 weeks they were taping, in TikTok world, that would be enough to potentially see dramatic changes.
With that attention span, it's like an eternity in TikTok world. It's ages,
Yeah.
centuries.
So, okay, there was this paper, I think we talked about it once, review that was just in 2025, where they were just reviewing the literature on mouth taping, and part of it they did a review of TikToks. And so they had some method of like randomly selecting them, and then they looked at the most frequent claims. So the top two claims were the other two things that we tested, which was more refreshing sleep, that 36% of the videos she reviewed or they reviewed claimed that, and then 16% were about reducing snoring. But then as far as the aesthetic change claims, the most common claims were preventing a long face, preventing a crooked nose, preventing a gummy smile, and sharper jawline, right? It's not only TikTok that's saying this stuff. We already know Huberman said this too. And also in the TikToks, they noted in the paper that 24% of them featured medical professionals. So there's some, maybe the claims aren't that it's so fast. Like Huberman doesn't say in 2 weeks you're going to see the change, but there are also these kind of claims are coming from legitimate sources. So this is the image from the book Jaws, a Hidden Epidemic.
This one is the funniest so far. The guy at the bottom.
This is like dramatizing the claim about, but in that book, we looked at the images before, but it was like children. Habitual mouth breathing
Hmm.
makes them develop, like the bottom guy. So the first thing we did is look at how do you actually measure attractiveness, right? Because we wanted to see how it had
Wait,
been done in other
what did
studies.
it say? What did it say? Does it say just happy? Is there an attractiveness score?
In yours, yeah, it says attractiveness 7.5. Do you see that?
Out of 10? Damn, I scored myself higher.
But mine was worse. Mine was like 6. So you
I'm
should
sorry.
be
I,
grateful.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm not disappointed. It's not too bad.
Um,
Funny.
yeah, that was from one of the papers. No, actually, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I used the same model that they used. There's proportion indices, like the Farkas indices, where there's just, like the golden ratio, but he has like all these different ratios of what's the
Hmm.
perfect beauty. There's 3D facial measurements. And then there was a couple studies that just have independent raters looking at photos. And this one was pretty interesting because they looked at people who had before and after facial rejuvenation surgery, and they asked them to evaluate how old they looked and also how attractive they looked. So on average, the people looked 3.1 years younger, but there was no change in attractiveness. I added the graph here from the study of the change in mean attractiveness score for each person as an average of all the raters that rated them. And you can see it just looks like a normal distribution. There's
Hmm.
one person who got a big bump, like a more than 1
Hmm.
point change on average. There were plenty of people who got decreases in attractiveness. So I
Wait.
just,
So are these our scores on the right? What's
no,
what?
this is a study. This is the first study in the
Ah, I
Zim,
see.
and they were seeing if the independent raters thought they looked younger or more attractive.
Hmm.
I'm just I'm just mentioning this point because I thought it was surprising that this facial rejuvenation surgery didn't improve perceived
Mm-hmm.
attractiveness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, in 2013, I'm
Yeah,
not surprised.
I know it can be getting better.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things to note there is that perceived attractiveness is a difficult thing to make a big effect in. And so that's one of the reasons that we ultimately focused on, is there a perceived change rather than the attractiveness, which you would need more
Mm-hmm.
statistical power to detect. So you already saw the survey that we gave people. So we had about 56 responses per participant, although there were a few dropout, like not full complete. So it was close to that for everyone. And we asked, in which set is the jawline sharper, in which set is the face longer, and in which set is the chin more projected. They could say A, B, no difference, or unsure. And in each case, the photo order was randomized. So A could have been the before or the after. And they also saw the faces in randomized order. And what we were expecting was the jawline to be sharper, the face to be shorter, and the chin to be more projected forward after mouth taping.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the results in aggregated, like these are the pooled results out of all the responses for all the photos. In total, about 37.8% of judgments that said no difference or unsure. So already there's a lot where you don't see it, you don't have a perceived change. And then when they are claiming a perceived change, was the perceived change in the expected direction? So if you look at it here, it looks like maybe slightly for all three hypotheses it was, but if you look at it on the level of faces, because you can't look at each response as an independent sample, right? So actually n equals 14. So if you do a t-test on the face level, still the percentage is slightly higher towards the claim, but it's practically nothing. It's
Mm-hmm.
and this is excluding any of the no difference or unsure ones, right? Just out of people who claimed a difference, was that difference in the correct direction? Basically,
Mm-hmm.
no. The p-values are
Mm-hmm.
big, so there's no difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, in conclusion, we didn't find evidence that a month of intermittent mouth taping produces a perceivable change in the face structure. It's, I think the first counter argument would be that the dose wasn't big enough. You only did 2 weeks out of a month. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
need more time to see a change. Another thing is it might not work on adults. The claims that we were addressing were claiming that it works on adults, but there's more literature to suggest that in children it's more impactful, the mouth breathing. And then also, we don't know if these people were nasal breathing already. And that's something we could
Mm-hmm.
actually look at, because we could look at their data and see if there was
Oh,
improvement in their sleep metric.
interesting.
I
Uh-huh.
didn't do that yet, but it's also, I don't know if it's super worth doing because it's only 14 people. So like with the snoring, there were 3, 4 people who were suspected mouth breathers. So it'd be kind of hard to say anything about it anyway. But what we did disprove is the social media claims of those TikToks that we saw. And I think in general, social media claims are exaggerated. There's still some reason, theoretically, mouth breathing could be having some effect on facial structure, but it probably wouldn't be a dramatic effect.
Also, our participants were not selected to be like ugly. Some of them had 7.5 beauty score. So,
Exactly.
No, but seriously, like I mean, if we were like specifically trying to prove this hypothesis, what would we do? We would find like nasal breathers with like deformed jaws, right? So I don't know.
I think we
It's
did
cool.
prove
Mm-hmm.
something, even though it was something that seems obvious to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's we did prove that this isn't a super cheap intervention for that works for attractiveness that everyone should try.
Yeah, I agree.
It kind of reminds me of when I posted the cat calling study on Reddit, and everyone was
Mhm.
like, this is so obvious. Why would you even waste time doing such a study? But I think there are people who really believe these kind of things, and it's helpful to be able to point to some
Mhm.
evidence when you're discussing it with them. This is still valuable to the conversation.
In my opinion, the biggest benefit of this, the coolest outcome is like the development of the study protocol, the way everything is set up, the
Yeah.
questionnaires and all of that. I think this is like super, super cool. As a user, if I thought like, would it convince me? I think before and after of someone at this sample size, I would be more convinced by few examples that are. I mean, you need statistics, but like if I were to claim that this is a disprovement, I would like to have two examples of like, oh look, here's the person with a deformed jaw. They taped for 14 nights. Take a look. It didn't work.
It's a good point.
So I don't know. I think again, great. I love the slides. Are you gonna use them somewhere else too?
Well, I was
Maybe.
thinking I could cut this recording into a movie